I'll tell you now that the first thing I talk about is journaling with AI.
Chat and my therapist are on the same page about the patterns that are happening in my
The
life.
second thing I talk about is not really knowing what I'm doing clinically, like what am I even doing as a therapist.
Still kind of feel lost.
And then the third thing I talk about is how I notice how I show up as a therapist when I'm stressed out. And then I end with talking about the uncertainty of being a therapist.
I don't know what I'm doing.
So if any of that interests you, just like skip to that section, watch that part.
So I've been doing this thing where I journal into ChatGPT. I don't want to go to it for like emotional support or go to it as a replacement for a person, but I do find it really useful for it to like recognize things that I may not be, or connecting some of the patterns that I may not be connecting. Anyways, I went to it, and I keep pausing when I say it because I don't want to call it, give it a pronoun, because I don't want to think of it as a replacement to a person. I think that is where personally it gets questionable for me. I just don't want to rely on it as a replacement for like human connection. So I've been following this journal prompt from Bad Girl Media on Substack. I've been loving Substack. She has this like 12-week journal prompt every day to basically reflect on 5 minutes a day, and then paste your journal response into ChatGPT and have it like pretty much like analyze your thoughts. It's a little creepy, but I have been finding it really helpful. And I haven't yet, but I have brought it up to my therapist that I want to talk about some of the findings through chat, because it's like exactly what my therapist and I are talking about, which I think is great that like, I guess chat and my therapist are on the same page about the patterns that are happening in my life. Maybe it's obvious. I mean, it is pretty obvious. I know what's going on. It's just, it feels different when ChatGPT can kind of like pinpoint exactly like phrases that I've used and use them as examples of patterns that are going on. Something I was journaling about earlier today was that something that stops me from wanting to make more YouTube videos is feeling like I have to have this like new therapist career more figured out so that I can explain to you what it's like to transition from tech to being a therapist. And honestly, I don't have it all figured out, and I think that's actually more helpful for you all to see me go figure it out. If I sound like I don't really know what I'm doing, that is correct. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like testing it all out, testing this new career, figuring out who I am as a therapist, figuring out what is working for me, what is working for my clients. And yeah, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, to be honest. And you know, I wish I was more certain about some of the techniques that I use in therapy and can say for certain when I get on a consult call with a client, like, yes, A, B, and C is exactly what is going to help you get through this hard time in your life. And I feel like that's what people want to hear, but most of the time it's like, I can recommend things, but I won't know if it's going to help or if I'm even recommending the things that would be most helpful to you. Maybe it is helpful, but maybe it's not. But anyways, these are just some thoughts I've had. I still kind of feel lost as a therapist in terms of knowing that there's so much out there and I'm just like starting off. This is my second year seeing clients, and in a way, it kind of feels like when I was starting to learn software engineering at the last startup. I don't have any computer science degree or any boot camp, anything like that. I've taken 2 intro to comp sci classes. That was the extent to my coding experience. And so when I became a software engineer, it was wild. I didn't know 90% of what was going on around me. I felt like I was trying things here and there to see what would work and what wouldn't work. And there was just so much unknown. I didn't even know what I didn't know. And I feel like I felt like that the first year when I was a therapist, when it's like, instead of it being like this whole big code base that I don't know and I don't understand and all the terminology, it's like I feel like I didn't understand the lens to look at mental health. Yeah, so this week I had a lot of like cat related stress. My cats were drooling and I had to go to the vet like 4 times or something. And it was like, if I didn't have insurance, it would have cost me like $10,000. So I was really stressed out. I had to take time off the ice cream shop. I had to cancel some of my clients last minute. And I didn't cancel some of my other clients. So I noticed like what it feels like for me to be a therapist when I'm barely able to handle the things going on in my life. And I notice I tend to come off a little bit more like problem solving, or wanting to point things out more quickly than I usually do. And it doesn't quite feel good for me because, yeah, I guess this is back to the balance of like letting the client do their thing and also being very tactful and intentional with when to bring a pattern I'm noticing, or when to bring a different perspective in. Sometimes it isn't helpful at all because they're still like talking about what they're going through. For example, like I can imagine if I was like talking to my friend about being really stressed out about the cats, and I'm just starting to talk about my stress of having to go to the vet and having a hard time putting them in their carrier, and then all of a sudden my friend comes in and is like, oh, this is kind of like how it's hard for you to reach out to other people when you're having a hard time. And in my head I'm thinking, that's a great pattern, but this is not what I want right now. Right now I want to be able to process and have someone listen to the stress of my life and just like get it out of my system. Then if I want to, I may be more open to hearing that types of things. So yeah, like I said, I noticed when I was feeling more stressed out, I would tend to kind of lean towards wanting to just like point things out more quickly. As soon as I see it, I'm just like, oh, this is the thing that's happening. Maybe that's a pattern that I'm noticing. Oh, this is similar to the other thing you talked about, without really tuning into what was going on with the client. I think it's really stressful because there's no way to know for certain how successful you will be as a private practice therapist, but you do have to sacrifice a lot, like your stable tech job and income and stability, to be able to like test out if this career will work for you. So it is really stressful in that way. I think I wasn't ready for how much instability there is in this career path, as in like, especially in private practice, you don't have a stable income because it's really dependent on when your clients decide to leave, or when you get new clients, and which are somewhat out of your hand. You can do as much marketing as you'd like and have a wait list and all of that, but it's up to the client when they want to decide to leave. And so that does affect my income, a therapist's income. And yeah, I think to make this career path, or to make this career switch, it really does help to have a good understanding of how you deal with uncertainty, especially when it comes to finances, because this is also a career where there isn't like a really typical path. There isn't, maybe there is for social work, I'm not sure, but especially with private practice, there isn't like a step 1, do this, step 2, this, step 3, and this is how you'll reach your end goal. You kind of have to figure it out by yourself, what kind of path works best for you. And I think it's just stressful, to like not know what is gonna happen. And also at the same time, it can be very worthwhile, all of the stress and all of the uncertainty, to be able to have a career that's meaningful and gives you a lot of freedom and flexibility, because it is your own pretty much small business that you have complete control over. I think I sacrifice a lot of things and am okay with how hard it is to get there, because I know the rewards can be so fulfilling. And I'm getting there slowly. Anyways, I'm done with my laundry, so I guess I'll go. I'm not done. I'm done with part 1 of doing my laundry. So I guess I'll talk to you later, and I'll see if I end up posting this, because I feel like I am a lot more low energy today filming this, because I'm not trying to like bring some type of like YouTube presence that I feel like I had in the past, and maybe that is what has been tiring about making these videos. This has felt more real to me, and I think more of how I usually talk on a day-to-day. Bye.